Good morning, everyone. So again, welcome to our English Maritime course, and I will be your instructor for today. So again, my name is Elaine. So for today, we will be discussing um about some system in the maritime. Okay. So we'll be focusing today about the engine room operations. So this presentation is expanding your vocabulary related to engine room operations. So these systems are very crucial from various shipboard functions. So of course, it including the power generations, fluid management, cargo handling, and maintaining a safe and comfortable environment. So now I'll be introducing some engine room vocabulary. So the engine room of a vessel or in a ship, it's very complex environment. So first, why is it important for us to have a knowledge about this vocabulary? So how do we understand the specific vocabulary used in the domain or essential for? So first is to have a clear communication. So of course, if we ensuring the instructions, reports, and discussions are very ambiguous. Next is for the safety. So safety, it is to identifying the hazards and understanding the safety procedures. Another one is for the operational efficiency. So meaning, so describing or we having a knowledge regarding the equipment, troubleshooting issues, and maintaining the systems effectively. And lastly, for the professional development. So because it is to demonstrating the competence and expertise. Okay? So now let's explore some vocabulary organized into several categories. So first, I have here the main propulsion machinery. So these terms relate directly to a primary system that moves the vessel. So I have here the main engine. So the main engine is the primary engines responsible for propelling the ship. So it's often in a large diesel engine. So here, this is the core system responsible for moving the vessel through the water. The next that we have here is what we call the propeller. So the propeller, this is the priam mechanic device with rotating blades that pushes against water to propel the ship. So it works by creating a pressure difference on the blades. So the function of this propeller is the primary means of propulsion of the ship or most of the ship. So it is essential or essentially a rotating fan and typically with multiple blades that pushes the water backward to generate the forward thrust. So another one that we have here is the shaft or the propeller shaft or the tail shaft. So this one is the rotating shaft that transmit power from the engine to the propeller. So it typically consists of several shafts connected by coupling and supported by bearing. So here the propeller here is just if we have the proper propeller design and operation significantly impact the fuel consumption and the speed. And also another importance here is for the maneuverability. So meaning that the propeller play a crucial role in steering and maneuvering the ship. So here, I have here some key function and characteristics. So for marine application, so like in ships, it connects the engine to the propeller to convert the engine power into thrust. Okay? And in the marine propeller shafts, these are designed with withstands significant torsional and shear stresses. It requiring the robust material like the high strength steel. So these shafts, it also include the component like flange coupling, truss shafts, intermediate shafts, and bearing to maintain alignment. And the propeller shafts are also known as the drive shafts, tail shafts, or cardan shafts. So these are the other alternative names. So next that we have here is what we call the thrust bearing. So the thrust bearing is designed to withstand the axial force or the thrust generated by the propeller and transmit it to the ship's hull. So it allowing the vessel to move forward. So it essentially absorbs the thrust from the propeller shafts and transfer it to the ship's structure for preventing the engine's the crankshaft from being subjected to the force. So this thrust bearing is typically positioned at the aft end of the main engine shaft where it can effectively transfer the thrust of the ship's hull. So we have here a different types of thrust bearing. So first is this what we call the thrust ball bearing. So these bearing are balls rolling between braces to support the axial load commonly found in a low-speed application. It's like the automotive steering and household appliances. So they can be a single direction or double direction. So meaning handling loads in one direction or handling loads in both direction. Another one is what we call the thrust roller bearings. So these bearings utilize the rollers to handle the higher axial load and are often found in industrial gearboxes and heavy machinery. Like for this, we have here the cylindrical roller thrust bearing. This is to offer a high axial load capacity and more relatively inexpensive. Another one is what we call the tampered roller thrust bearing. So this one can tolerate some eccentricity and support the greater thrust loads than ball bearings due to the larger contact area. Another one is what we call the spherical roller truss bearing. So this time, it is the self-aligning, accommodating shaft deflection and mounting errors and suitable for heavy loads. Another that we have here is what we call the needle truss bearing. So this time it is a compact bearing with needle rollers suitable for high axial loads in a limited space. So it's like an automotive and industrial application. Another one is the angular contract thrust ball bearing. So this bearing can handle both radial and axial loads due to the contact angle between the balls and raceways. And lastly is what we call the seal thrust bearing. This is the pre-lubricated and enclosed to protect against contaminants, ideal for the dusty or moist environment. We also have here what we call the radial bearing. So these are designed to support the radial loads, which are forces acting perpendicular to the rotating shaft. And the other one is the thrust bearing. So these are specially designed for the axial loads, while radial bearing can often handle some axial load as well, but do not have sufficiently as dedicated as the thrust bearing. So we are now in our auxiliary machinery system. So this system support the main propulsion and provide the essential services throughout the vessel. So first we have here what we call the deck auxiliary. So this system are used for working the vessel and handling cargo. So they include winches, windlasses, steering gear, cranes, and other deck equipment. So it's all about um, equipment or non-equipment that you can see here in the deck. So the deck machinery, this encompasses a wide range of equipment. So including the winches for hauling lines, windlasses for anchor handling, and cranes for lifting and moving cargo. So steering gear. So this the system that controls the ship's rudder, enabling it to change the directions. So we have here the engine room auxiliaries. Oh, before I forgot. So regarding this, the deck auxiliaries. So here also, the purpose of this deck auxiliaries is for, like what I said, the cargo handling. The maneuvering, like the steering gear, is essential for controlling the ship's directions. So here, these are the vital for the safe and efficient operation of any vessel. So these are designed to handle the stresses and demands of the maritime environment and play a crucial role in both routine operations and emergency operations. And I forgot to put here those equipment or examples of the decks um, auxiliaries. So we can see the winches, which is used for the hauling ropes and cables. The windlasses is used for the raising and lowering the anchor. Of course, the steering gear. This is to control the ships. We also have in the deck is the what we call the cranes. So it used for the lifting and moving the cargo equipment. Another one is the what we call the mooring winch, which is used to secure the ship from the dock or in the pier. We also have the lifeboat davits. So this used for lower lifeboats in or during the emergencies. So generally, some various pumps, compressor, and other equipment, these are to support the various shipments or the shipboard system. So like the engine room or the electrical power generations and other domestic services. So next is what we have is what we call the engine room auxiliary. So these are the non-propulsive machinery and equipment that support the operation of a ship's main engine and other onboard system. So this is to support the propulsion system. So these auxiliaries like the pumps, coolers, and heaters are crucial for maintaining the proper operations of the main engines and ensuring the efficient power generation. So, the auxiliary engines, these are typically diesel or electric. So, drive generators to produce the electricity for all onboard systems. So, it includes the lighting, the navigations, and other machinery. It also provides essential services. Like for example, like the compressors. It provides the compressed air for various onboard system, while generators provide the electrical power. So I have here some list of the common room auxiliaries that you can found. So first is what we call the generators. So this generator, as I said, it produces electricity for the ship system. We also have here the pumps. Pumps is used to circulate the fluids like fuel, lubricating oil, and cooling water. We also have here the compressors. So this one, it provides the compressed air for various systems. We also have here the coolers and heaters. So it regulates the temperature of a fluid and gases. We also have here what we call the separators. So this one, it clean and purify the fluids like fuel and lubricating oil. And of course, we have the boilers. So boilers is generally steam for various purposes. So next that we have is the piping and pumping system. So So we have here the piping and pumping system. So this system circulate fuel, fresh water, seawater for various purposes. So including the cooling and other onboard needs. So here we have the pumps. So these are the heat of or the heart of the system because it providing the energy to move the fluid. So we have a different types of pumps like centrifugal or deposited displacement pumps are chosen based on the specific application and fluid characteristic. We also have the piping. So pipes are the conduits that transport the fluid. So they come in a various materials and sizes to accommodate the different flow rates, pressure, and fluid properties. So here is the other components and considerations. So we have the bulbs. So bulbs are used to control the flow of the fluid. It's regulating the pressure and directing the flow path. We also have the fittings. So these are such the elbows, tees, and couplings. So this is to connect the pipes and allow for changes in directions. And the branch connections and expansion joints. So these are typically or the critical for accommodating the thermal expansions. We also have here the suction and discharge. So these are the pumping system are typically divided into suction and discharge. So suction is the inlet and discharge is the outlet side. So each with its own consideration for designs and operations. So this auxiliary machinery, it ensures the main engine and other system operate smoothly and efficiently because these systems are vital for maintaining the safe environment on board, including the fire suppression, navigation, and cargo handling. And this system also, like the air conditioning, ventilation contribution, it contributes to the comfort of the crew and the passengers. So, to make it short, the auxiliary machinery and systems are the backbone of the ship's operations because it ensures that it can function safely, efficiently, and comfortably at the sea. So I have here now the auxiliary engine. So this auxiliary engine, this is the secondary engine on a uh, vehicle or the vessel to provide the power for systems other than the main propulsion. So in these things from the main engine that drives the ship's propulsion. So these engines are crucial for generating the electricity, powering the pumps, compressors, and other machinery that support the ship's operations and living conditions. So the purpose of this are crucial for providing the power and are not directly related to the vessel movements through the water. So in ships, the auxiliary engines are typically used for power generators that supply electricity for the entire vessel. So we have here that the auxiliary engines can be used to power the generators. So it providing the electricity for all on-board system. We also have the boat thrusters. So this time it's assisting the maneuvering the vessel at low speed. We have the cranes, or I mean the steering system, that providing the power for the steering mechanism. And we also have the cranes, that powering the cranes for cargo handling. We also have here the HVAC system, or the providing the power for heating, ventilation, and the air conditioning. So first that we have here is the generator. So the generator is the machine that converts the mechanical energy into electrical energy. So the prime mover provides the mechanical energy to drive the generator. This is also the common prime movers includes the diesel engines. So meaning that these are widely used due to the efficiency and reliability. Steam or gas turbines. So this one is used in some larger vessels. We also have the main propulsion engine. So in some cases that the main engine can be used to drive as the shaft generator. It also have the act as a alternator. So the alternator is the component that actually generates the electricity. So It works on the principle of electromagnetic inductions, where a rotating magnetic field includes a current and a stationary set of conductors, or what we call the stator. The rotor or the rotating magnet creates its magnetic field. So we have a different types of generators. So first is the main generators. So these are the primary source of for the ship. It often is driven by diesel engines. Another one is the shaft generators. So these generators are driven by the ship's main engine, providing a more energy efficient way to generate electricity. It's used also as another type is the emergency generators. So these are the smaller generator that automatically start up in case of a power outage, providing a power to critical system like steering gear, navigation, and emergency lighting. So why the generators are very important on the ships? So first reason is the power source. Of course, the ships rely heavily on electricity for various systems. Next is the backup power purposes. So during the emergency or the emergency generators ensures that essential system continue to function even during power failure. Next is the safety. So maintaining the power to critical systems like steering and navigation is crucial for the safety. And lastly, of course, for the efficiency. Shaft generators can improve the fuel efficiency by utilizing the main engine's power. So next that we have is what we call the boiler. So these are essential for generating steam, which is then used for various purposes, including the propulsion, electricity, generations, and heating system. So the main function force of the ship boiler is the what we call the propulsion. So the boiler produces the high pressure steam that drives the ship's turbines and propellers, enabling the movement through the water. So the main function of the ship boilers, of course, is for the propulsion. So the boilers, it produce the high pressure steam that drives the ship's turbines and propellers and enabling the movement through the water. Another one, another function of this is for the electricity generators. So the electricity generators or generations, it is steam from the boiler that can be used to power turbines that generate the electricity for onboard system. And another main function of this is for the heating. So the boilers, it provide the steam for heating. So for the accommodations, fuel oil, cargo tanks, and other systems on the ship. So remember that the boilers also provide the steam, okay, for the auxiliary system. So now we have here the types of boiler. So first we have what we call the water tube boilers. So these boilers have water inside. So inside the tubes, surrounded by hot gases capable of producing the pressure steams. Another types of boilers is what we call the fire tube boilers. So in these boilers, hot gases pass through tubes surrounded by water. So they are generally smaller and less efficient than water tube boiler, but these are suitable for certain applications. Another one that we have is what we call the composite boilers. So these boilers can utilize both fuel oil and exhaust gas for the ship's engines as heat source or as a heat sources. So another one or lastly is what we call the waste heat boilers or the exhaust gas boilers. So these boilers is you recover the waste heat from the ship's main engine exhaust to generate the steam. So improving the overall energy efficiency. So here again. So here for the boilers, boilers are very essential for the safe and efficient operation of the ship, especially in the vessels using the steam propulsions. So proper designs, installation and operations, and maintenance of the boilers are very crucial to ensure their reliability and safety because modern ships often utilize a combination of main propulsion boilers and auxiliary boilers just to meet the various onboard steam demands. So next that we have here is what we call the compressor. So the compressor is a mechanical devices that increase the pressure of a gas by reducing its volume. So it often used for starting air or refrigerations. So these are primarily used for starting the main and auxiliary engines, but also power the other system and tools. So we have here what we call the types of compressors. So first is what we call the reciprocating or the piston compressors. These are most common type used in the ship. They can also be a single stage or multiple or multi-stage. So depending on the required pressure and capacity. And another type is what we call the compressors are also classified based on their operating pressure and the motor speed. So the air compressors are an indispensable part of the ship's machinery, including its safe and efficient operations. So here's a more detailed look at the function and importance of a ship air compressor. So first is the engine starting. So large diesel engines, so the both main and auxiliary, they rely on the compressed air to initiate the combustions and start running. So the air compressor, it fills air receivers to a specific pressure. and it is also stored in the release to the turn the engine. So generally, ships have at least two compressors, and the air receiver must have a capacity to allow for a certain number of engine starts without needing to be replenished. Second one is the powering the pneumatic system. So the compressed air is used to operate the various pneumatic tools and system on the board. So including the hydraulic jacks, heat exchangers, and cleaning equipment. It also powers some other pneumatic control system such as the use for valves and other machinery in the engine room. Another one is the emergency situations. Emergency air compressors provides a backup power source for starting engines if the main compressors fails. So they are crucial for ensuring that the ship can maintain the essential functions, especially during the emergencies. So lastly is the maintaining the air pressure. So the compressors must be able to maintain the required air pressure in the receivers just to ensure that they have the smooth and reliable operations of all systems. And of course, to relieve, the valves are fitted on air receivers to prevent the overpressurizations. So another one that we have here is what we call the purifier or the separators. So these are the machine used to remove and solid impurities from fuel oil or lubricating oil through centrifugal force. So the purpose of this is purifiers on the ships are very essential for maintaining the reliability and efficiency of the engine by ensuring a constant supply of a clean fuel and the lubricating oil. So how does it work? So purifiers are used to centrifugal force to separate the impurities from the fluids. So the fluid is spun at the high speed, causing denser substances, so like water and sludge. So to move outward while the lighter and cleaner oil remains in the center. So by ensuring the clean fuel and lubrication, the purifiers help to prevent the damage to the ship's engine and maintain its optimal purposes. So we also have types of um, purifiers. So we have the fuel oil purifier. So the fuel oil purifiers, it remove the water, sludge, and solid particles from fuel oil just to prevent the engine from damage and ensure the efficient combustions. We also have here what we call the lubricating oil purifiers. So this one, it clean the lubricating oil to maintain its lubricating properties and prevent wear on engine components. So why are these are very important? So first reason is for the engine protection. So by removing the contaminants, purifiers, it prevents the damage to the engine. It also reducing the risk of costly repairs and downtime. Another reason is to improve the efficiency. So, if they have the clean fuel and oil allow the engine to operate more efficiently, it leads to the fuel savings and reduce the emissions. And another one is what we call, or another reason is for the compliance with the regulations. Because the purifiers help ships comply and with the environmental regulations by minimizing the distance of pollutants into the sea. So next that we have is what we call the heat exchanger. So it's still part of the auxiliary machinery system. So the heat exchanger. So these are device used to transfer heat between two or more fluid. So so this one have very important role. So first is the engine cooling. So they remove excess heat generated by the main engine's auxiliary generators. So this is to preventing the overheating and maintaining the optimal operating temperatures. Next is for the lubrications. So they cool the lubricating oil, ensuring the proper viscosity and preventing the damage to engine components. So air conditioning. So they regulate the temperature of the air inside the ship. So this one is providing a comfortable environment for the crews and also the passengers. So the role of this is the fuel heating. So they preheat the heavy fuel oil, it's called the HFO, for efficient combustion in the main engines. Next is for the refrigerations. So they play a role in the refrigeration cycle, cooling, and heating fluids for various purposes. Next is for the heat recovery. So they can recover from heat from excess gases just to improve the overall energy efficiency. So we have some types of heat exchangers used on the ship. So the shell and tube heat exchangers. So one fluid flows through tubes while the other flows around the tubes within the shell. The another type is what we call the plate heat exchangers. So this is the curated or corrugated plates create channels for fluids to flow, allowing for efficient heat transfer. Another one is the plate fin heat exchanger. So these exchangers, it features some fins to enhance the heat transfer. So this is oftenly used for air cooling. We also have here the dynamic scrape surface heat exchangers. So these are used for highly viscous fluids. These exchangers utilize the blade scraping into to improve the heat transfer. Another one is the special YouTube cooler. So next that we have is what we call the bilge. So bilge is the lowest part of the ship's hull where the water collects. So the bilge water, this is the water that collects in the bilge area. So it often contains a mixed substances, so including the water. So the seawater ingress condensations and water used for various ship operations. We also have the oil and grease. So the leakage from the machinery and other systems. So, and also the other contaminants or the chemical, sludge, and other byproducts of the ship's operations. So the bilge system, this is the ships have the bilge system designed to collect and remove the bilge water. So this system is typically includes the bilge wells. So the compartments within the bilge that collect the water. It also have the pumps. So these devices that move the or the bilge water out of the ship. They also have the piping. So this is the network of pipes that transport the water to the pumps and out of the ship. They also have the strainers. So devices that prevent the debris from entering the pumps. Oily water separators. So meaning that this equipment is used to remove oil from the bilge water before the discharge. So next that we have is what we call the ballast tank. So tanks is used to hold water. So which is pumped in or out to adjust the ship's trim and stability. So so this balance tank is act as the balancer. So it will balance the ship to make it stable or maintain the ship's stability. So by lowering the center of gravity and preventing the excessive rolling or tipping, particularly in rough areas or rough seas or when the ship is not fully loaded. So buoyancies. So by adjusting the amount of water in the tanks, the ship's buoyancy can be controlled by allowing it to defloat at the desired level. So the trim or the ballast tanks are used to adjust the ship's trim, which is difference between the drops and the bow of the stern. So this is important for the efficient navigation and steering. So how does it work? Or how it will work? So the ballast tank are typically filled with the seawater and the water is pumped in or out to achieve the desired weight distribution. So in the modern ship, use liquid ballast or water in the tanks rather than the solid ballast like stones or iron is used in the older vessels. So the ballast tanks are strategically placed around the ships just to optimize weight distribution and the stability. So, we have type of ballast tank. So, first is what we call the double bottom tanks. So, these are located between the inner and outer bottom plating of the ship. So, the purpose of this is to enhance the safety. So, the primary purpose of a double bottom is to prevent flooding of the main compartments of the ship in the outer hull, breach due to the groundings collisions or other damages. Next is the storage. Of course, the storage is the purpose of this is the space between the double bottom. This can be used for storing the ballast water to stabilize the ship fuel oil, fresh water, and other fluids. Next is the strength, and stability. So the double bottom also contributes to the overall strength and stiffness of the ship's hull. So another type is what we call the wing tanks. This is located along the sides of the ship, often in the cargo hold area. So the purpose of this ballast tank, including the wing tanks, are crucial for maintaining the ship's stability. So especially when the vessel is not carrying a full cargo load, they are filled with water to lower the ship's center of gravity and increase the stability just to prevent it from the tipping over. Locations. The wing tanks are suitable within the bottom wing of each cargo hold. So, extending along the sides of the ship, they are often in continuation of the double bottom tanks. The wing tanks are commonly used in the large bulk carrier and oil tankers. So they are also found in other types of ships, such as the Ori oil carriers and oil bar or couriers. So the ballast water, it including the waste tank, can be adjusted by filling or emptying them. So this allows the ship to maintain the proper draft or how deep the ship sits in the water or in the trim that the balance of the ship from the front of the back. So relationship to the other tanks. So the wing tanks can be located near other ballast tanks like the hopper tanks, or what we call the triangular tanks at the shoulders of the cargo holds. And the topside tanks. So the topside tanks located in the topside structure of the ships. So the double hull tankers. So meaning that the wing tanks are often part of the double hull structure and providing a layer of protection in case of grounding or collisions. We also have here types of ballast tanks. So first is the fore and aft peak tanks. So these are located at the very extreme ends of the ship. So fore peak tank located at the forward most of the ship, often behind the collision bulk holder or bulkhead, used for the ballast water, but may also store equipment like the anchor chains. Maybe may be enforced to withstand impacts from the bow. While the aft peak tanks, it is located at the stern of the ship. It is beneath or often beneath at the poop deck. So it also provides the space from the or for the rudder and the propeller shafts and can be used for ballast. This also be reinforced for the safety and the house steering gear. So the function of this is for the trim adjustment. So by varying the amount of water in the fore and aft tanks, the ship's trim can be adjusted. Next is for the buoyancy. So meaning that they can contribute to the overall buoyancy of the ship. And of course, for the safety, they can act as a buffer in the case of a collision and help preventing the flooding. So the structural support. So the tanks are often integrated with the ship's structure and may be reinforced with to withstand stress and impacts. Okay, so for today, that will be about the auxiliary machinery and systems. We also discuss the main propulsion machinery. So in our next meeting, I'll be discussing the continuations about the engine room operations. So for today, it will be it for now. And I hope you take down some notes regarding this engine operations. Okay, again, this is your instructor, Elaine. So on our week 24 of English Maritime course. Thank you.